Welcome back, everyone. This is Jen, and you've turned into BPD Woman. On this channel, we talk about borderline personality disorder, living with it, managing it, coping with it, and I'd like today to talk about BPD in the workplace. So before we get started, again, I'm Jen. Welcome to those of you who are new to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. For those of you who have just subscribed or tuning back in, I say welcome back and thank you so much. I also really love your comments and questions, so please keep them coming. Again, on this channel, we talk about living with borderline personality disorder. I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder about 20 years ago. I've been through multiple rounds of DBT. I've read about every important text. I've got like a whole shelf of a library in my living room dedicated to resource materials, workbooks, you name it. There's a lot of really great materials out there, and then there's some really, of course, I'm sure you've Googled, and there's a lot of, especially like places like Quora or Reddit, there are a lot of negative, unhelpful places where you can find some information that's, I liken it to kind of, when I come across some of these like unhelpful BPD websites, or like BPD people are fucked, and like you can't date them, or whatever it may be. I kind of liken it to, I'm a celebrity and I'm about to read something bad about myself in the newspaper, so instead of reading it, I just or the newspaper, who has a newspaper, TMZ, whatever, People, whatever, and I just pretend like I'm not gonna read that, that doesn't, if I don't read it, it can't permeate, but there is some truth to that, right? Don't read it, don't consume it, it doesn't get inside of you. So I'm not a PhD, a therapist, but I do think I offer something a little bit better, and that is I'm a living, breathing person that has BPD. So today I'd like to talk about the workplace, having BPD, having a job, how BPD, in my experience, has affected my relationships at work, how it's hurt me at work, how it's helped me at work, and what I do now for my career, and some tips that I think might be able to help you. So let's get started. For a really long time, I worked in the corporate sector, working for some pretty powerful people that you would see in places of political power, the military, but in and out, I worked for what they call the C-level suite. So you're talking CEOs, CFOs, decision makers, that kind of thing. As a part of my BPD, I think most of us with BPD are highly intelligent, highly motivated. We have a willingness to please. A lot of us are perfectionists. Raise your hand if this applies to you. And like to be organized. And because we have a deep sense of empathy and willingness to help other people, I kind of saw that role as a chief of staff. Excuse me. I'm going to look at some notes here on my computer while I talk to you. Having that empathy and care made me super functional and successful at my job because, interfacing with all of the people that a CEO or a general might have to deal with, you come in contact with a lot of people and you have to know how to read people. BPD, those with BPD can really tune into emotions, differences in facial expressions. Sometimes our interpretations of those expressions are not accurate, so you can't always act on those feelings. And I cared about people, and the downside to that was that I would overexert myself. There was a time when I was working 60-hour work weeks, not making overtime. And I'm like, well, what am I doing this for? What am I killing myself for, And I became exhausted. Now, those are high stressful jobs. What I just described to you is a super stressful environment. However, it paid really well. So I kept at it. But I had with my BPD, I had many problems at work. And they would stem primarily from these few things: anger, my inability to control my anger or mask how I was feeling, The second would be if I was having a really bad day or an emotionally dysregulated day, or if I had been crying all night and my face was all puffed up and I literally couldn't show my face at work, I would call out. And, I have a hard time holding my tongue. And when I'm flustered, when I had this like really stressful job, when I had all of these different people who wanted all kinds of things from me at the exact same time, I would snap. I would say something. I would lose my temper. I would be short with somebody. I would send an email, not think about it. It's hard in those high profile jobs to slow down, right? Because there's such a go, go, go environment. You're being pulled in all kinds of directions. And so when you need to take a break around the block, or you need to use some of your emotionally dysregulated skills, or you need to do a number of things in order to get yourself back to an emotional baseline, it can be very difficult. No, I never threw anything at work. I never pushed anyone at work. I never told anyone about my diagnosis. But as part of my personality, I'm kind of if you have a problem with me, talk to me. If you need to discuss something, discuss it with me. And I often went about my job thinking like a man. Well, a lot of people have a problem with that. I was called a bully. I was called difficult to work with. People told me that they had to walk, literally. I heard someone say, we never know what mood you're going to be in. So, and those things obviously brought to me shame. And I got fired a number of times. One job that I can remember, I worked for about 2 years, and I finally had it, and I literally walked out of the door. One day I just walked out. Another day, another job, I got fired for, I can't really go into it because, we all sign non-disclosures, but, for language and not getting along with other people. So because of my behavior, I lost a number of jobs. But, I would chalk it up and I would say, next job will be better. Oh, I was burned out at that job. Oh, that job, obviously I knew deep down that A, I didn't even want to be in the line of work I was in. B, it was really stressful. And C, I really didn't like the people. So given all of those things, and I'm sure that describes a lot of people who don't even have BPD, but, because of that, it made it even more difficult for me to use those skills, mask my anger, work on give or the dear man's. So a lot of the materials that I've read over the years, and I'm single, I don't have a trust fund, my parents don't give me money, so I needed to make money. I live in a expensive area. I had animals, I had responsibilities, I had bills. So I had to tough it out, right? Like I literally was doing something to survive. And in a lot of the literature that I've read, one of the books that's a pretty good read, although it's kind of has a controversial name, is I Hate You, Don't Leave Me. And it talks about, having a job, trying to find a job that is less stressful. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice for all of us? So, of course, obviously, I had the exact opposite of a stressless job. I wasn't a yoga instructor. I wasn't a gardener. I wasn't an art curator. So I knew in the back of my mind that I had to, the obstacles I knew for me were, one, I didn't really like what I did. Two, I didn't really like answering to a bunch of people, especially if I thought they were stupid or mean or just not ethical people. Three, I didn't care about the field of work that I was in, and it was super stressful. And so I I had a business trip in my last corporate world job. I had a business trip, and I took a few days to sightsee to a city I'd never been to. It was great, and it was by the water, and I was like, oh, this is fantastic. I'm so relaxed. And I began to like really think about my decisions of where I was working and why. And when I got back, I was fired. I think personally someone had a vendetta against me. There's some truth to that, and there's a little bit of background of stuff that I did, but needless to say, I got fired. And at that time, I was volunteering with a dog rescue, and they were affiliated with a doggy daycare and boarding center. So, and it paid nothing. It paid like $10 an hour. And I came in one day to volunteer, and they were like, oh, what's new? And I was like, oh, I got fired. They were like, oh, well, do you want to work here? And I was like, yeah, definitely. I had started volunteering to work with dogs at this rescue because it brought me peace and calm, and it was nice. It was relaxing. I felt like I was giving back. Then I began working in the field, and I hadn't had a dog in a number of years. I had a few cats, but I hadn't had a dog in a number of years, maybe about 6-7 years. And I was like, I'm going to get a dog. I'm going to get a puppy. Got a puppy. And then I got fired from that dog care place. It doesn't really bother me. It doesn't, I'm not the only insane person in the world. Let's just put it that way. So, and I was like, you know what? I'm good with animals. I'm good at marketing myself. I have a lot of business acumen from, working in the corporate world for the last 15 years. I'm going to open up my own pet sitting and dog walking business. So very slowly over the end of 2018, through early 2019, I started building up my business. I was working with a couple of different platforms. I had some money saved away, so I was kind of supplementing that. I will say, if you're going to make a business transition, definitely have some money set aside for yourself. So, anyway, I was working with a couple of platforms, and then I got kind of disillusioned with how some of their business practices were going. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to open up my own business. And, years ago, a friend of mine said something like, open up your own business. It's not that hard. And I was like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. But you know what? No, it's not. It's really not that hard. So in early 2020, right before the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, January 1, opening up my own business. That's my own business. So all of my, I had a good client base that followed me over, and I had built up word of mouth, and people had referred to me, and I was like, great, perfect. And, I became my own boss. For $100, I built my own website, for free. I built my own Google business page. I marketed myself. I made cool business cards for $50. So honestly, I bought insurance. So for $250 and at the comfort of my computer or my phone, I built my business, and here I am today. So, honestly, there's a lot of perks to being your own boss. Now, I wasn't, my background is in the arts, it's in writing, it's in theater, it's in the creative side of things. So pets, dogs, animals, cats, that was never my my career path in life. But obviously, I really love it. And obviously that caretaker side of me really likes, especially something as vulnerable as an animal who obviously depends on you for life. I knew I would be good at it. I knew that I wasn't going to work with anyone. I wasn't going to hire anybody. I was going to be my own boss, set my own schedule. So that was perfect. Could never get in trouble with an HR department ever again. Big eye roll, I know. I got a lot of physical activity, which, you know, if you have BPD, is great for being emotionally dysregulated. You know, if I'm walking 4, 5, 6, 7 miles a day, I'm pretty tired by the end of the day. It's hard for me to get really upset and emotional because all my energy is gone. And of course, obviously, daily exercise is an important part of anybody's life, in my humble opinion. And I knew that I wasn't going to have to be face-to-face. Like, you know, I'm really great with my clients, but I also knew that I wasn't going to have the added stress of repeatedly interacting with them on a face-to-face basis. That changed a little bit after the pandemic. On a face-to-face basis, so that even if, like, you know, there was like an issue that came up or something was dysregulating to me, they couldn't see me face to face, you know, like I could mask that. Also, I choose who I want to work with, you know. If I don't like you, okay, well, bye. You know, if you don't respect me and my time, bye. So there's a lot of control there. And obviously, you know, you see me a lot in these kinds of shirts and my hair pulled back. That's because this is my uniform now. You know, I don't have to get gussied up. I don't sit in my car all day fighting traffic and fighting for a space on the subway and you know, just so stressful. So I highly recommend, not only for people who don't have BPD, but especially with people that struggle with their emotional regulation, their interpersonal effectiveness, to find a niche for yourself. Make your work life less stressful. Make it enjoyable. You know, I mean, I remember one day my friend was like, oh, I'm going to a meeting. I'm so stressed. I was like, oh, really? Well, here's a puppy I'm playing with today. That's what I'm doing for my job today. But there's lots of opportunities and it's so easy to work remotely. I mean, everybody's remote right now, but even before the pandemic, you know, you can write, you can sell pictures online. You could literally make a living from your desk and never leave your desk at home. Now, I'm sure, to play devil's advocate, some people could say, well, isn't not going to work with a job where you see people every day and have to report to a boss, isn't not doing that kind of counterproductive against, you know, becoming more effective at those skills? Like, shouldn't we be out there, you know, trying to relearn behavior patterns? Wouldn't it behoove us? I guess, sure, there's a point to that. In my case, though, I kept getting in trouble at work. I kept getting fired. Now, guess what? I got 5-star reviews coming out of my wazoo, you know, so and a few things explain that. Again, I'm doing something that I really enjoy. I'm less stressed. I'm getting more exercise. You know, I don't have to spend time putting on makeup, wearing uncomfortable clothes, sitting in a car, being uncomfortable. So I guess if you could give me all that and I could report to a place every day with all of those things that I just mentioned, yeah, I'm sure my attitude would be a lot more improved at work and I could be a lot more effective at using my DBT skills. However, not really. So I know that I'm in a lucky place and I'm fortunate that I was able to transition. And I'll never go back to working for anyone else. I just won't. That'll never happen. But if you're not in that position, and a lot of us aren't, you know, if you are a vet tech, you know, if you have a job that you have to be face-to-face, if you're a lawyer, a doctor, if you're a massage therapist, if you might be in a position where you have to physically be present at work every single day, then it's tough. Then you really need to lean more in on your DBT skills. And I'm going to start creating a series of videos delving into those skills, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, that's a little bit of my experience on why I think having a job transition and working for yourself can be a lot more beneficial, especially if you have BPD. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So please do tell me your experience, what's worked for you, if you've had job troubles, how you kind of fixed those, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.